if you hadn't heard the story, Trump has been letting Afrikaner refugees, heavy on the quotes, into the US. They came here with the lie that the South African government is persecuting them because they're white. So at a time where Trump is not allowing any refugees to come into the country, he is allowing Afrikaners into the country. And like this article perfectly states, they're not refugees, they're opportunists. And these opportunists really thought that when they got to the US, they were going to get a house, a job, a car, a cell phone, health insurance completely paid for. They really thought that Daddy Donnie was going to take taxpayer money and give it to them. You know, believing all those lies that people of color come to the US to seek refugee or asylum, and then they have it on easy street, which, surprise, surprise, it's not true. And it doesn't matter how much those South Africans hate it here, they can't just go back home. Like the Department of International Relations said, these Afrikaner refugees cannot just go back to South Africa or get assistance from South Africa because they're supposed to be under the protection of the United States and Donald Trump. And if these Afrikaner refugees want to be welcomed back as citizens, they have to revoke their status in order for this to happen. So if these Afrikaners are struggling in the US and they want to go back home, basically they have to admit, we lied. I think it's kind of humorous to me that their lies have backfired on them and that Donald Trump has left them stranded. However, it's very frustrating that people who actually have to seek asylum and refuge in the US because they're trying to escape danger and persecution are not being allowed in, but these opportunists are being fast-tracked.
Well, it's now safe to say that grass is not always greener on that other side unless you're watering that grass on that side, and that the party ended so soon. The people that this makes so much sense to right now are those fake white refugees from who fled South Africa on a false and a propaganda narrative of a white genocide, who then were lied to, and they bought the propaganda from Donald Trump, and they went to America. Guess what? Now they are stranded and they want back, but I'm not sure if they are wanted back. So I want us to listen to what is happening.
Feel-good story of the week. So you guys remember all the stuff about the South African refugees to the USA. I mean, of course you do. It's a really funny story that we've all known about and loved. Like the supposed victims of the white genocide in South Africa. So Trump started inviting them to come to the USA on the basis that there is supposedly a white genocide in South Africa that they are fleeing from. And some of these white South Africans took him up on this offer. And one of the families who took this offer apparently went to the USA thinking that, like, they would be given, like, a house, they would be given, like, money, like, they would be given, like, the full service experience from the US government upon arriving. But what actually happened is they arrived, and they can't get a job, and now they're like, help, we need help, someone help us, this sucks, we want to go home. Story here. Afrikaner family stranded in the USA after seeking refuge, appeals for help online. An Afrikaner refugee family has washed up in Montana, US, and they have taken to social media of all places to ask for help. The story was dropped by a South African expat on TikTok. This was definitely written by ChatGPT because of the way it's written. You know, where global crisis makes lip syncs and dance challenges. I'm going to read the factual parts and ignore the fucking unfunny commentary shit. In recent weeks, not one but two groups of South Africans have claimed refugee status in the US, and they went to a 3-star hotel in Montana. I think the video was deleted. Okay, here's a better article on the same story. So the South African expat TikToker revealed that she came across an Afrikaner refugee family in dire need of help. The family of 4 was stranded at a hotel with no food, money, or a cell phone. They own a farm in South Africa. Isn't the whole thing? The farmers are being killed. How do they have no money if they own a farm? What happened there? The woman said of the refugees, they were understanding that they would be arriving here for complete assistance. People thought they would be arriving at a house, a job, medical insurance, and other things. It isn't that way at all. Because of the political situation, they are really struggling to get jobs. The woman revealed that she had left South Africa more than a decade ago, but had gone through a lengthy process. She also criticized Afrikaner refugees for having unrealistic expectations. She continued, one side of me is like, fuck that. My husband and I went through all of this red tape and we got our visas. We've been here 10 years. We did everything the right way. Here, these people, regardless of what they were promised, just came here expecting everything. No help from the South African embassy. I mean, you said you're fleeing the South African government. You said you're fleeing them. You said the government is killing you. You said they're genociding you. Why are you seeking help from them? Why? That's so funny. And another thing is being refugees, right? Because if you're a refugee, it's because you can't go home to your other country usually, or at least for a period of time. Because the whole point of being a refugee is this idea that you'll be unsafe in your home country.
Despite all of the rhetoric surrounding the bloody mass deportations, we have to remember that the Trump regime allowed these white South Afrikaners to come here on refugee status. Supposedly, these people were experiencing a genocide, and he was like, come on in. Y'all are just getting it so terribly over in your country. So he let these people come in. I'm going to get back to the Afrikaners, but just the other day, I posted this picture in my YouTube community, and I was talking about the National Guard that were sleeping on the floor in these federal buildings, and it was being reported that the Trump regime sent them out to LA without food or water. They didn't have accommodations set up, and people jumped into my comment section to say this is the life. This is the life that they chose. Because what I had said is, I was like, any mom that has gone on a trip could have done a better job at setting up accommodations for these people than the Trump regime. And people just made it like I just didn't know what was going on. And I'm using this picture to show that this Trump regime, they do not have any planning foresight. They do things to make headlines, but then the follow through, the planning and all of that is pretty sad. So like I said, let's talk about these Afrikaners that came here on refugee status. Here's an article from a publication called The South African. No food, job, or phones. Afrikaner refugee family stranded in U.S. American dream. An Afrikaner refugee family has been left without assistance, including food, after arriving in the U.S. And this is basically just another example of how they just make plans or make headlines, but then forget that these are actual people, like how they planned all of the bloody mass deportations and then forgot that these people actually work here. It's like they have no thought of what's going to happen next. So let's get into this article. An Afrikaner refugee family has reportedly been left stranded in the U.S. and is appealing for help on Facebook. The startling revelation was made by a South African expat on TikTok. Two groups of white South Africans have taken up refugee status in the U.S. in recent weeks as part of a program open to persecuted people. Afrikaner refugees left stranded. On her TikTok account, South African expat @CatMPT revealed that she had come across an Afrikaner refugee family in dire need of help. The family of four was reportedly stranded at a hotel in Montana without food, money, or a cell phone. Instead, they reached out to a Facebook group for help. The woman said of the refugees, they were understanding that they would be arriving here for complete or maybe with complete assistance. People thought they would be arriving at a house, a job, medical insurance, and other things. It isn't that way at all. She added, because of the political situation, they are really struggling to get jobs. The woman revealed that she left South Africa more than a decade ago, but had gone through a lengthy process. She also criticized the Afrikaner refugees for having unrealistic expectations. She continued, one side of me is like, F that. My husband and I went through all of the red tape and we got our visas. We've got our green card. We've been here 10 years. We did everything the right way. Who does that sound like? That definitely sounds like something I've heard before. She continues with, here, these people, regardless of what they were promised, just came here expecting everything. Under the post, the woman added that she was assisting the family with a car as she was a humanitarian. Now, the post is no longer available. I went there this morning, but thankfully I saw this article yesterday. I had gone over to her page yesterday and I grabbed the video. I'll share the video at the end. All right, it says, no help from SA Embassy. Last month, the Department of International Relations stated that South African refugees in the United States would not have access to any diplomatic assistance whilst abroad. The persecuted South Africans would instead be assisted by the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, which was signed as an executive order by Trump. As part of the Afrikaner Act, the group was also given priority to refugee status, which provides them with startup assistance like money, jobs, and even a house. That's really nice of them. They didn't do this for other people seeking asylum, but okay. But obviously it didn't happen because Trump's a liar. Can they return to South Africa? According to DIRCO spokesperson Crispin Fury, refugees simply can't return home for a braai and go back. I'm not sure what a braai is, but obviously they can't just go back because they were seeking refugee status for a reason. It was so dangerous. There was a genocide there. He added, even the word itself, refugee, suggests you are seeking refuge from a particular country. You can't be seeking refugee status, then go back home, have a braai, and then go back. Maybe have a vacation. I don't know, have some rest. It defeats the purpose of you being protected and a refugee of a particular country. Plus, they said it was so violent out there for the white South Afrikaners. Why would these people go back? For Afrikaner refugees hoping to return home willingly for good voluntary repatriation is always an option. Organizations like the UNHCR help those who wish to travel back to their countries by providing financial assistance. DIRCO added that the refugees will be welcomed back as citizens. However, they would have to revoke their status in order for this to happen. Do you think the Afrikaner refugees were unrealistic about expecting a better life in the United States? Yes, but still, they thought that they were special, and the people that allowed them to come here, they took some pictures, they made some headlines, and now they are done with these people. I'm not exactly sure, but there's so much going on. And now the funny thing is, these poor MAGAs, the unhealthy MAGAs, should be kind of upset that the white South Afrikaners would be getting money, food, health insurance. They should be upset about that because these people's health insurance, money assistance is being snatched from them. All right, now, I told y'all Cat PMT snatched that video down. When I went to her page this morning, she says, "Thank you for visiting my page. The video you've come to see has been taken down due to constant flagging by the platform for bullying. It has also caused enough damage by fanning the flames of a fire that I did not realize existed. My hope is to use this page to show the difficulties and challenges a person faces when moving to a new country, but in a fun and educational way. The correct people have now stepped in to make sure all parties get what they need." And actually, since she got the video taken down for bullying, if you are on TikTok watching this, I'm not going to put this video here. I'm not going to have my video pulled down for bullying. You can come over to Bourbon Bougie, that girl on the YouTubes. I'm right here, Bourbon Bougie. You can find the remainder of the video over there. Plus, TikTok has demonetized me anyway. So if you want to watch the whole video, come over there. It's going to be at the tail end of this video if you want to see what Kat was saying about the refugees.
So I said the other day about how I don't think about the South African refugees, which I don't, but there's this group on Facebook, and there are many of them, like South Africans in Montana, or South Africans in Texas, or South Africans in the US. And there's this one group which is kind of female focused, and I've removed myself from all groups. I mean, we've been here 10 years, but I've kind of stayed in this one group because every now and again they post some like really good like recipes or just like random shit from South Africa that you kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And the lady who runs the group had been posting like everywhere about looking for people who live close to this one town, which I live kind of like 2.5 hours away from, here in Montana. And I'd forgotten about another group that I was in, which hardly ever has any posts in. And because I'm friends with her on Facebook, she posted in there and the post came up. So long story short, a family of refugees has been placed in this town, and they have had like no food. I know that there's this, and I don't know what to think because I didn't really follow it at all when it happened. But I think they were of the understanding that they were going to be arriving here to like complete assistance. And I think people here thought that they were going to be arriving to a house and a job and medical insurance and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it actually isn't that way at all. There have been like 4 adults in a hotel room with no money, no cell phone, no anything. And obviously, because of the political situation, they are really struggling to get jobs, struggling. And I kind of feel like those are obvious reasons. And I, like, the humanitarian in me, I can't ignore the fact that these people are struggling. But there's this one side of me that's like, fuck that. Myself and my husband, we went through all of the red tape and we got our visas. We were transferred here with another company. And we got our green cards and we've been here 10 years. And like we did everything the right way. And here these people, regardless of what they were promised, just came here expecting everything, and it's not what they expected it to be. And I don't think they can go back to South Africa because they've kind of given up their rights. I don't know the full story. So I've made contact with the lady. Obviously there's a lot of like PTSD from this whole thing, and I'm struggling to communicate with her, which is quite strange. And I don't even know what I'm gonna go and do there. Like there's not a lot I can do. It's not like I can get them jobs. It's not like I can. I don't know. But there's this humanitarian side of me that's like, wow, shit, people shouldn't struggle like this. But there are so many people who are struggling like this, and I feel for them, but I also feel like, wow, you want me to go just because I'm South African? I don't know. What would you do?
She said someone recently told me that Donald Trump is like a socialite. He acts for the camera, and now these guys have been left to their own means in a foreign land because the photo shoot is long over, and he moved on. Donald Trump moved on to things that are making better headlines right now, maybe abducting people and from the streets and deporting them forcefully. And so they're left there to their own means because they bought a false narrative, of which many of them were warned against. Even their own people had tried to warn them against, but against everything, they thought they must move to the land of milk and honey. But I guess the honey and the milk is not flowing as they thought it would be. So these white South Africans, they're white South Africans, and maybe we can talk a little bit about how we have white South Africans. So these are descendants of white settlers who came to South Africa many years ago, and what they did is they grabbed the land from the natives and they beat up the natives of the land and actually put them in concentration camps. So what happens if you put locals in concentration camps? There is a lot more land left bare and idle. And so they had enough time and enough land to take as much as they could for themselves until they wanted no more. Those were their ancestors. And so they grew up in a privileged white South Africa, which they are a minority, but their ancestors or great-grandparents had grabbed all the land from the natives of the land, and so they have everything. And so, because most of us know the dark history that South Africa has come from, South Africa has been rising up from the mud slowly but surely, and challenging these historical injustices and oppressions. But you see, these people decided to run away from South Africa because they were running away from justice. See, when our privileged people are subjected to equality, they feel like they're being oppressed, because this is what happened. So South Africa then, over the years, has been contemplating the thought of taking back grabbed idle land that is in the hands of these white settlers, white South Afrikaners, white South Africans, they're called Afrikaners, and giving it back to South Africa for a meaningful use. Because you'd find that a paltry 12% of South Africans, those that are white, own up to 70% of available agricultural land in that country. 12% on 70%. So you can imagine the rest of the black and the colored, the Indian South Africans are only scrambling for the leftover 30%. And so you realize that these people had more land than they needed, and the government wanted to take back these idle lands and put them into meaningful use. But these people thought that was persecution, because they never wanted to give back land that they grabbed, and that the South Africans have been so good enough to let them stay and have all that privileges. And so when Elon Musk and his brother Donald Trump was still, in the bromance phase, the narrative then was fanned around that there was a white genocide because they didn't want to give back the land. And so apparently it was twisted to look like there was a genocide towards these people. And so now Donald Trump, because he acts for the camera and he loves controversy because he loves the headlines, gave them asylum status, or welcome them, because they are white after all, to America. I remember this was a time when Donald Trump had declared that there were no more refugees, no more immigrants coming to the United States of America. But he had an exception, these white South Africans. And then they fell out with his brother, and then he moved on to other things that make more sense to him, like deportation. And so these people have been left, and because they left South Africa with all the privileges they would have, gone ahead to enjoy being a privileged minority in South Africa. And now I wonder if they are going to be allowed just, easily back to South Africa. I think maybe South Africans might want to, tell us what's going to happen with these people. Yeah, so grass is definitely not always greener on the other side. We have seen people, Americans themselves, crying about the lack of jobs, an expensive living standard in that country, and they are literally leaving that country in droves. What makes you think that you would go to a place where the people that have been born and bred in that land are living? What makes you think you, as a foreigner, would go there and make it so and find it so easy in that country? Okay, that is what is happening to these people. We wait to observe and see what's going to happen to them, or maybe they should try and look for Elon Musk so he could give them some handouts, or Donald Trump if he can, which I really, really doubt. But yeah, this is a lesson. This is a lesson that has been taught and has been learned the hard way. Yeah, that is what I had for you in this video. Please share what you think about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, if you're new to this channel, welcome, and please hit the subscribe button and be part of us. So until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.